Welcome to Talking All Things Business. I'm Faye Waterman, your host, and my guest today is Daniel Burgess. And Daniel has a business called the Phoenix Experience. He specialises in change. He's a business coach, a leadership coach. He works in facilitation. He customises corporate experiences and cultural values. He takes small groups of professionals to incredible locations and on unforgettable experiences. Welcome, Daniel, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
That's a pleasure. Now, Daniel, you say you take people on, professional people, small groups, on these unforgettable experiences. What are these unforgettable experiences?
Yeah, well, it's all about taking busy professionals and getting them to press pause on their busy lives. So we go out into the mountains. We get up early and we press pause and we hike up a mountain in the dark with lights, and there's no talking on the way up, and we go and watch the sunrise in some beautiful locations and reflect and do group coaching sessions and talk about some of the things that we probably haven't had a chance to talk about for a long time, and things that are important to us that maybe we put on hold for whatever reason. And we just I can't take all the credit. Nature's got to take a little bit of the credit or a lot. But yeah, so nature's the backdrop for the change and the vehicle for change as well.
But you instigate that change and you give people that opportunity to be able to walk with you and experience something that they probably never have experienced before or never will until they experience it and want to do more of it.
Exactly. I had a client recently that came on a hike, and it was the first time they'd ever hiked up a mountain, let alone hike up a mountain in the dark and watch the sunrise. So, to share that with someone is very special.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about who you are and where you come from.
Well, I've had a long, a crazy journey. Like I started my personal development journey when I was quite young, after a car accident that pretty much left me for dead, paralyzed and homeless. And I used personal development to rebuild my life. There's a few turning points in my life where I could have, been in the system, for the rest of my life with injuries and all of those things. And I used personal development as the pathway out, as the tools to dig myself out of the hole and create, this future for myself.
Beautiful. And so what sort of things did you actually do? I mean, you said you were in a hole and you could have stayed in the system, and that means the government system, for the rest of your life. But what sort of things, or what was the catalyst that actually stopped you from remaining in that and moving forward and, doing some professional development for yourself and bringing you to where you are today?
Yeah, a big part of that was, being out in nature. Like I left everything behind. I left my girlfriend, my car, my job, my apartment, everything behind. And I went walkabout in far north Queensland. So being out in nature and swimming every day and hiking up mountains, and, when I learned to walk again, all of that stuff, and being out in nature and swimming and climbing, and that just gave me that passion back for life. And then I just started reading books like The Celestian Prophecy, The Seed of the Soul, and all of these other books, just to, discover there was something bigger than myself, some purpose that I was meant. Like, why was I saved? And then I just slowly worked on my health and started giving up on all the excuses that I gave myself not to succeed, and showed back up at work, and despite the pain and despite the self-doubt and all of those things, I just showed up and just grinded away and slowly rebuilt my life now.
So you said pain, you showed up for work despite the pain. So what sort of pain were you in when you came back into society after how long did you spend out in the country or out in the bush and just as someone being by themselves to find themselves. How long did you spend out there before you went back to work? Were you constantly in pain when you were climbing those mountains and swimming and doing all that sort of thing?
Yes, yeah, constantly in pain. I was recovering from a broken neck, a broken back, broken arm, skin grafts on my legs from burns. So yeah, like in a lot of pain, like serious pain. And but the getting in the water took that pressure off my spine because it was the crushing, intense pressure. And I was 6 months homeless, like full homeless, like without a home, drifting the streets and hitchhiking and living at waterfalls and living at beaches wherever I could. And then spent another 3 months in a share house, and then just decided, the doctor said I was crazy to go back after 9-10 months of without work, but I just was sick of being broke. You know, people thought I was a bum. People thought I was so skinny from my injuries. People thought I was on heroin because I was like skinny, like
Right.
like skin and bone. Like I had no chest because of my trauma. It was just yeah. So it was 9 months before I went back, and yeah, I was in pain. I was so weak that I had to climb onto trains because I was working on the trains up in North Queensland, and to climb up the ladder to get in the train, I was physically weak. That was quite hard to do.
Exhausting to actually do that. So
Yeah,
how,
and the mental and spiritual pain of it all as well, because my life was perfect and it had been ripped away from me, and I'd had everything and lost it all. So that kind of emotional and spiritual pain was quite tough as well, and integrating back into society.
yeah. And did you hate the world? Did you hate everything about the world when you first, had your accident and thought, did you ask yourself the question, why me? Why me? Like most people would do, or did you just go out into nature and do the things that you did?
Yeah, I kind of embraced life. I kind of went the full opposite way. Like I never blamed anyone for, the person that drove us off the road. I never blamed them. I just went the full other way, just this, zest for life, and just, just loved being out in nature. And I was talking to a friend the other day, and he, because I tell the story in my keynote, and he's like, it wasn't all bad, was it? And I was like, no, it was the best and worst time of my life, right? And so, like, I went the other way, but when I went back to work, I just didn't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, I was a terrible employee. I'd rock up late. I'd be on the way to go out swimming, and I'd call in sick, and, like, I was all about just living life, and I didn't care about my job, which I should have, because they're very good. They knew what I'd been through.
Yeah.
But I just didn't care. I was the worst possible employee up to about a year. And then they sat me down and they said, look, if you don't change, you're going to lose your job. They had to have the witness and the interview and the formal everything. The big bosses came down. They all sat around and said, look, if you don't do something, or if you don't come to work on time, if you don't come up clean shaven, if you have one sick day without a certificate, you'll lose your job for a whole year. So that was kind of the wake-up call, my kind of sliding doors moment. I could have do what was expected of me, or just hold on to whatever, rebellion, that I felt like I deserved. And I went the other way. I went towards I'll just do what they ask. And I was a model employee from then on, and people came up to me like, man, what's wrong? You've changed. And I said, look, it's easy to conform, to do what's expected of me. All of the other stuff, the dodging and the weaving and the calls that's kind of hard.
Yeah, yeah. And so they obviously saw something in you and knew that you had something deep inside you to say, give you that opportunity and say, you've got to work for 12 months and do this without any excuses, let's say, and you did that even though there was something driving you back to where you wanted to be in that nature and just go swimming and rock climbing and do all those amazing things, which a lot of people don't get the opportunity to do. And it's such a healing place to spend time isn't it? To be out in that place of peace and tranquility and beautiful sunlight and trees and greenery and everything like that.
Yes. Yeah, it's amazing, and it saved my life really, because, I left hospital quite early. I didn't do any of the hospital, like I got to the stage where I could just walk. And then as soon as I did, left hospital straight away. And then as soon as I was able enough to walk more than a few steps without sleeping for a week, I just hitchhiked straight to North Queensland. And then that's when I just went in the bush and went full walkabout, as the Indigenous fellas say.
So were you a bit of a rebel anyway, even though, even when the accident happened, were you a bit of a rebel before that?
Yeah. I wouldn't say in a rebel as in a breaking the law way, but rebel as in quite reckless, as far as always pushing the limits physically, with sport and extreme sports and all of those things, always taking things to the limit.
Yeah.
But not in like the breaking the law kind of way,
Yeah.
but just more of that, do things my own way. And I always had that kind of thing. And I had quite a defiant attitude as well when I was in hospital, because they told me I'd never walk again. And I said, well, I'm going to walk again.
Never.
Yeah. So, yeah, that defiance really, really helped me to keep that fire, to say that,
that burning desire inside you when someone tells you you can't do something, to prove them wrong. And you have to have that, particularly when you're in a situation that you were in, when someone says that you'll never walk again because you had a broken back, a broken neck, broken ribs, broken arm, etc., etc. I mean, you couldn't have much more than that go wrong with you.
No, when you're laying in bed with the bolts in your head and in traction and stuff, it's kind of like there's not too much else you can do, right?
But that was real for you. But then you because you made a decision to make the changes and take yourself out of that, even though you left the hospital early, the decision for you was, don't tell me that I can't do something, I'm going to prove you wrong. And you did. So from there, and going back to work where they said, they gave you an ultimatum, you spent that 12 months there. What did you do after that?
Well, I kept my job, which was great. I kept my job for 5 years, and then got my payout from my car accident, and I got lots and lots of money in a lump sum, and proceeded over the next 3 years to spend every last cent. Skydiving, mountain bike riding, jet skiing, motocross, courses, trying to find what I was meant to do in life. Just went pretty much, lived a crazy lifestyle for 3 years until I was broke again.
Right. But what were you learning? What were the things that you learned over that period of time that taught you or helped you move into what you do now? What were the things? Well,
searching for evidence as well, like to prove that the injuries wouldn't hold me back from my life, to sort of prove to myself that what had happened I wouldn't let it define the rest of my life. People would get angry. They would swear at me. My family pretty much disowned me. Everyone thought I was crazy doing the things that I was doing. And as given my injuries, which was probably fair, but I went and saw a physiotherapist, the only physiotherapist that I'd ever seen back then. And he said, look, just keep doing whatever it is you're doing. He said, most people that have your injuries, they're dead in 10 years because they give up.
Yeah.
And they fade away. Their heart stops because of the pressure from their bones. And he said, as long as your muscles are strong, your bones will be okay. So, yeah, and I kept going and got fitter and stronger, and started pushing the limits more. And, I was never focused on the future. I was kind of just so happy to be alive that I wasn't thinking, oh, maybe I should invest or maybe I should buy a house, because I was kind of like, it was almost disbelief that I was still living. Like, it's crazy to think that, but like it was the truth, because people are like, oh, why didn't you think about the future? Well, I was completely in survival mode, like, for a very long time.
And your family and friends and people that said you were stupid and crazy and all the rest of it I suppose they said that because they cared and they were worried about you. But at the same time, you've got to do what you've got to do.
Yes.
As an individual. But that's also brought you to a place where you now can work with people who may be in the situation that you've been in, or similar situations, and you can actually say you understand. Whereas people that work with people that are injured, that have never been injured or never suffered from things that you have, they can't say that they understand. So therefore, their honesty isn't really there, is it?
Yeah, and it's important to know that I can empathize, and I've had similar things going on. To say that I truly understand their situation is hard, because everyone's situation is unique. But I do get where you're going with that, and it is true. I just finished a day a month course. It's called The Power of You. Goes for a month, and it's teaching people that are in the Disability Employment Service on how to dig themselves out of a hole. And, you know, I share my story and, you know, the struggles and stuff that I've had, and maybe it's not similar or kind of close to what they're going through. So it does give them hope that someone's been in their situation and they follow a process that they can, you know, they can see hope, right? And I think hope is a very powerful tool that we all need. Like, and it's not just for people that are unemployed, it's for people that are, and I wrote a blog about this last night, is like when we're 30, 40 years old, life gets in the way and we can give up on our dreams. You know, health suffers, our relationship suffers, we're doing okay. You know, how are you doing? Yeah, I'm doing okay. And that's kind of like the danger zone, you know, because, and it's, people don't just arrive there. They don't go all of a sudden, oh, I'm 40 and give up. It just creeps up on you because you're comfortable and things are going easy. And I talk about it a lot. I was like, what did you used to love to do, but you haven't done for a while, the thing that lit you up? And it's very hard for people to talk about it because they're just getting by.
Is it because they're actually conforming to society and their environment too, that they don't realise that, you know, there is a better life out there for them, and they probably have deep inside them these goals and desires that they have always wanted to do, but have that fear of, oh, I'm not good enough. People will judge me and say, you know, this about me or that about me. So they don't do it. And so they just conform to life. And when they get to 30, 40 or 50 or whatever it is, they think, well, what have I done in my life? You know, I suppose this is my lot in life. And so they accept it. But then there's other people out there that get to a certain age and think, well, okay, damn this, I'm going to do whatever it is that I want to do, and I don't care what anyone thinks. So you would create that inspiration for people. You would set a spark in their bellies, or bring out the magic. I always say there's magic inside us. And when you talk to people, or you run a course or a program or something like that, you would bring out that magic within them to say, okay, I can do this. Can you help me?
Yeah, and it's so true, right? Because life, you know, we do what is expected of us, you know, and people don't just fear being judged. They fear of what happens if I do become successful, because they've got stories from their tribe about, oh, look what happened to Uncle Johnny. He got money and he ended up turning out to be a wanker. And so we put limits on ourselves based on what we think people are going to think about us, not even what they're thinking, because most people are just thinking about themselves, right? Like that's what we do, right? But we think everyone's thinking about us, and we can limit ourselves based on that. And yeah, my job as a mentor and as a coach and a speaker and a facilitator is to create enough pain in people that they go, oh, well, you know, like, I don't want to stay like this, you know, even though whatever their version of is great. And by society's thing, they're probably doing really well and they've got all the accolades, and I love that. But like, we all have an extra bit of potential in us. Like there's always that another level, and it's my job to help them find that and give them the tools to be able to live that. And I think that that's so important, because we can judge our success by other people, go, oh, I'm doing really well because of them. But if they're asked themselves genuinely, they could say, well, am I living up to my own potential? Yeah. And I think the answer for most of us is we're not. And I think that chase is the wonderful thing. I don't think we ever will, but like the hunt for that is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And you know, there's the fire in the belly, but they have that fear of not taking that step and taking those actions to do what they really want to do, because I suppose it's a fear within ourselves, not even that judgment from others, but that fear within ourselves to say, you know, oh, I'd love to do it, but what if, and you know, that word if is a very
What if,
word.
what if yourself? Fastest way to depression is to what if yourself.
And it's so interesting because what you do is you when you take these people up into the mountain and they climb up in the dark and they're unaware of what to expect, not knowing what's around the corner or what's, you know, up and a few more steps and things like this. There's probably this fear in them, but there's also this trust because they have you as their guide to take them to the top, and they know that you are going to do the right thing by them. So they have this trust in you.
Yeah, and what I do is I take away control, right? So I take away all control, because in life we're searching for control, but control's an illusion. You know, like there's no way in this life with the amount of variables that we can have control. And even though a lot of our life is spent trying to get control. So I take that away from people by saying there's no talking on the way up. So they can't, like if they're having a bad thought or lungs are starting to hurt, they can't just talk to someone and distract themselves. They have to sit there with their own thoughts. And then without telling them how far it is and stuff. So they just got to be in the moment and trust themselves that they'll make it. I've had plenty of people struggle and say, look, that's it, I can't do it. Like a third of the way up. And it's not even that far, right? But people just, you know, they just can't do it. But they always make it to the top. Yeah.
And I was going to say, you would, you know, when they say that they can't do it because they're experiencing it's too difficult to climb, or their breathing's, it's too hard for them to breathe, or they're doubting themselves. Yeah. And then you turn it around and create that space for them to say, I can do that.
Yeah, and we only know the things that we can do when we do them. We don't just go, we don't just go, oh, I'm going to try that and know that we're going to achieve that. The true breakthrough moments in life is when we do that thing and then we realize that we could do it. We don't realize we could do it first and then do it. We have to do it. And in the doing of it, we realize that, oh, wow, I could do that thing.
Yeah.
But we've all been in that stage in our lives where we haven't done the thing and we know we should have. I mean, I've done it hundreds of times. But when we do that thing, we realize we're capable of so much more. So
much more. But you give them that inspiration. So when they sit on top of the mountain and they see the sunrise, are they allowed to speak after the sun's risen?
Yeah, as soon as we get to the top, where everyone speaks and shares, and we get lots of photos and talk about things. And I've got little booklets where we talk about life and, you know, creating awareness. Like the mountain, like the one day experience is kind of like gaining awareness, pressing pause and starting to think about the things that we haven't thought about in a long time. And so we've got little booklets and we work through some exercises. Then we have an open discussion about, you know, things that we've forgotten in life that maybe that are important to us. And if there's teams, we talk about what makes them a success as a team. How can they come together better? How can they nurture and support each other? We know that when teams come together and they create that a safe place, that they'll perform better out in the battlefield. Simon Sinek talks about it in his book, Leaders Eat Last, about create that circle of safety. And then we'll take more risks in the battlefield. So we all have to have our circle of safety, whether it's at home with our partners or at work or with our tribe, you know, community. And then we'll achieve more because we've got that safety net.
Yeah, and realizing that there's always someone there to support you. You're not alone. Sometimes people think they're alone and they won't try something because of the fear of, you know, no one there to support them or help them or get them through whatever it is that they need to push through to achieve what they need to achieve.
Yeah. Having people to support you in a tribe is so important. And whatever form that comes in, you know, like there's plenty of, you know, meetups, there's plenty of groups, there's plenty of coaching groups, and there's plenty of, you know, we've got friends and family, or, you know, and I always encourage people is, if you're on this journey of growth and there's no one supporting you, go and find people that are on the same pathway as you, right? Because, you know, you have that kind of shared growing together, you bond, right? If you suffer together, you you tend to grow together faster, right? Like that's why I love CrossFit, is because it's group suffering brings people together, right? Like if everyone's hurting the same.
Group suffering, I'm glad you said that.
You know what I mean? So we're all suffering together, and it brings people together. And it's the same if you're on a growth journey and you're in the trenches starting a new business or whatever, and you find other people that are doing the same. They're so open to giving of their time. They're so open to supporting you on their journey. They're so open to helping teach you the things that they've learned along the way. And that's true abundance.
Yes, yes. And it's having that appreciation of life and the journey that we're on. We're all on different journeys, but they're similar in a lot of ways, aren't they? Our journey.
They are. We're all. No matter where we are on the scale of the journey, we're all. We're just at different stages. We're all on the same journey, right? It's a human experience, and there's always room for growth. When I was talking to my job seekers today, I was like, look, I said, you're only one decision away from a new life. Yeah. Like that's it. And it's the same with all of us. Like we've all got hopes and dreams that we haven't achieved yet. If you don't have hopes and dreams, it's probably time to get some.
Yeah. And do you see when you say that to someone who hasn't had that feeling of hopes and dreams, when you say that to them, do you see the light shine in them?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I think it's a process that through my speaking or through the training and things like that, it takes time to build in them, because some of those hopes and dreams they've suppressed because it creates too much pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you go, if you start talking about it and they have suppressed those hopes and dreams a long time ago and they don't feel they can create a lot of pain in people.
Yeah.
So you have to, it's a process of bringing that out so they believe, well, hang on, maybe there is that little bit of a flicker of a thing. And I know Tony Robbins talks about massive action, all of that thing, but I think that's good for some people. But I think if you can just turn that flicker into a little flame and then just gradually put wood on it more and more, slowly gets bigger and bigger as your confidence grows. Your stages get bigger. But if you just go to someone, hey, go do this, and it's too much, the gap is too big, right? So it's important to know that even taking small steps towards the future, it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. And when you're working with these groups, the group you were talking about just then, you've worked with them for a period of time. So you have built that know, like, and trust with them. So
yes.
Yeah, and it's all about that trust factor, isn't it? Working with them and building that trust so that when you ask them to do something, they trust in you that you're going to be there to protect them or support them and help them get through whatever it is that they're going through.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And it's the same with all the corporate clients that I work with as well, and the high-performing teams that I work with. It's building trust in them, but getting them to trust themselves that they can achieve more, they can perform better. And how is that going to impact their family? How's it going to impact their bottom line? How's that, all of those different areas of their life that come together to make them, achieve more of what they want to achieve more in life. So each one contributes to each individual area, right? But it's the sum of the whole that makes it something, right? And I think we can lose sight of that sometimes. We get busy.
Yes.
Life gets busy, and the purpose of my trainings is to get people to stop and go, well, what if I could, positive what if I could pull this off? What if I could achieve the things I want to achieve? And that hope, it's so powerful and desperately needed.
Yeah, but you have the ability to create a space where people feel comfortable to want to think about those things that they haven't thought about for a long time, or think about something they've never thought about that could be possible for them. So you create the environment which is safe, and the trust factor from you is that they then can feel that they are comfortable enough to have a go at it. And if they fail, so what? It doesn't really matter, does it? They can pick themselves up and go again and have another go. If that's not the right thing for them to be doing, then they can try something else. But they've got you there to support them so that they feel safe.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my job as the mentor and the facilitator, to create that safe place, but then also give them the tools and the resources or the tools to go, how do I actually do that? And, you know, most people think if they're having thoughts or they're down on themselves, like I give them the tools to show that there's, you know, patterns and codes of why they are experiencing that, and then how can they change those, change their habits, change the way they think, put routines in place that can help combat those negative thoughts and those doubting thoughts, and slowly but surely start to see the light.
Yeah, yeah. And when you work with teams of corporates, what's it like when you first go into the room with them? Are they all excited, inspired, or are they there because they have to be there?
Well, I think at the start they're there because they have to be there, right? And some of them have done their due diligence and maybe stalked me and stuff. But most people, everyone's sort of sitting there in the first sort of bit going, what's in it for me and why am I here? This is just another bullshit course that I got to do. And you know, after many hours and lots of amazing mentors that have taught me how to facilitate, like I can create that rapport pretty fast and get them to start thinking about, well, hang on, this is a good thing, right? This is going to help me do whatever it is that I've maybe haven't even thought about that I want to do. So I think that's where the practice comes in, right?
Yeah.
And the skill sets. So, and it's important to know I've had so many amazing feedback where people have said to me, oh, this was never about my clients, was it? It was about me. I was like, yeah. It's kind of like my secret agenda is, you know, the training's about how can they better serve their clients or how can they be better salespeople or whatever. But the true growth is the growth inside them, which translates to better success with their clients and better success in their sales.
That's exactly right. It's not about, I mean, it's getting rid of the ego, and it's actually looking deep inside of who you are and how you can improve who you are. Then that creates an environment which is better for everybody else that they're working with, and it brings a team closer together. But we have to have an understanding about who we are first before we can actually really work with other people, because we're working with personalities and behaviours that are totally different. And if a team doesn't work well together, then the work doesn't get done. It's like the cogs in a wheel. If one falls off or something happens, the work slows down and doesn't get done, and people get frustrated with each other. But if you can teach them to have that understanding of, okay, if there's something not right here, let's ask the questions. Let's delve into this and ask that person, you know, are you okay? Can I help you with something? And it's all about asking those questions and having that caring nature to say, and that awareness that, okay, someone's struggling a little bit. How can I help them? What can I do? Instead of judging them and saying they're useless and they're stupid.
So look, yeah, and I love that. It's beautifully and so well said. It's, you know, unfortunately, the only person that we can change is ourselves. Like, we're all going around hoping for everyone else to change, and if everyone's doing that, nobody's changing, right? So we have to be the ones that we have to be the ones that have to change, right? Like, it's like, I always say to my mentor, damn it, am I got to be the one that's got to change? And they're like, yeah. And it's that ultimate responsibility. And like, the faster we change ourselves, magically everyone else tends to change. It's kind of like whether you believe in the universe or spirituality or quantum physics.
Oh.
As soon as we change, our environment changes and people change around us. Like, it's kind of like if you're having a bad day, everyone else around you's having a bad day. But if you're in the groove,
yeah,
everyone around you is buzzing, right? So we've got to be the force for good. We've got to be the force for change. And it takes work, unfortunately.
And it's all about our attitude too. I mean, you know, it's your thoughts, feelings, and actions, and being really aware of what you're thinking about, because what you think about, you bring about. And,
yes.
And then, you know, how you're feeling. So, you know, you might go into work one day and feel quite crap. And that then flows on to the whole team, because you have that feeling. And so it creates an environment of that. Whereas if you're aware of how you're feeling and thinking, and leave whatever it is outside the door and go in and do what you have to do, that's a great way to change attitude for yourself and for everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I've always said, and like that, your circumstances, they don't define you. It's your attitude that does, right? Because everyone's, man, I've been in some big holes,
Yeah.
unfortunately, and you know, there's a lot of people out there that are suffering, and a lot of people out there that are doing really well, and everything in between. And you know, it doesn't matter where you are or at any moment. The only thing that people can take you on is your attitude to where you are.
Yeah, that's
And
so,
that's it.
so true. And I always say, check your attitude. Where's your attitude? If you can't change it, have an accountability buddy and say, look, I'm having a bit of a bad attitude day, which I do. And I say, oh God, I've got to change this. So I connect my accountability buddy and say, I need help, but I'm aware of it. So therefore I can change it. But there are a lot of people that aren't aware of that. So they can't change what they're not aware of. So
Exactly.
you go in there and you create that space for them and create that awareness and start building on what they think, feel, and do. And then their attitude starts to change and they start to flip things around. Instead of looking at them in a negative way, they can start looking at them in a positive way, which changes the whole circumstance and the whole environment of a corporate sector. And that's, it's a huge, massive area, the corporate sector, where you see women go into the corporate sector and they kind of use more of their masculine side than their feminine side. And if they started to use more of their feminine side, they probably would get more of what they wanted.
Yeah, well, I think the using the masculine thing is, can be a defense mechanism because they feel like that they need to do that. But I think the feminine side, the nurturing side, is more needed in the workplace, not just from women but from men as well, right? Because my mentor always said to me, he's like, you get more flies with honey than you do vinegar, right?
True.
People seem to think you're going to get more results with the sledgehammer. It doesn't happen. And the culture, it's important to like talk about the impact on negative culture and toxic environments. It affects generations. It affects people. It affects people go home and dump on their partner. Then they dump on their kids, pick up on it. Sales go down because people won't take risks. We were talking about before, they won't take risks in the battlefield. It just has this flow-on effect in society, and it stems from the top down, unfortunately. And it's nothing bad against the leaders, but like they're probably getting pressure from their bosses, and it's this kind of cascading effect. And that's why it's so important to work on the internal world so that we're not constantly reacting to those external environments and getting pulled from pillar to post. And the more work we do on our internal, on our virtues, like on our character traits and who we are as a person, and mindset and all of those things, obviously that builds awareness, but it gives us the ability to just not be so reactive to our external environment.
Yeah. So, instead of reacting, let's respond. Or, if you're in a circumstance where there's something not going right and it could be a heated argument, just remove yourself from that, have some time out, and then go back and deal with it when you're in a space which is calm and you can deal with it in an appropriate manner. So, Daniel, talk to me about some of the programs and things that you run.
So I do a few different things. I obviously do the experiences, and I do one-day breakthrough experiences for busy professionals that are stuck. Like a full day breakthrough with me was 12 hours, includes a hike and all of that. That's been very popular. It's life-changing. I do that with teams as well, which is something I'm really proud of. I'm starting to branch into 3-day experiences in the Grampians with hiking and glamping, and also New Zealand in November this year, which is like a hike right up into the proper mountains, like on the hero's journey. And it's like a full 6-day breakthrough where we go through every area of people's lives and help them just break down, what's caused them to have the patterns and behaviors that they've got now, and discovering who they want to be for the future. And then also, hiking up onto the glacier in New Zealand as well. So it's kind of like the metaphorical hero's journey as well as the physical hero's journey and the spiritual hero's journey. So that's amazing as well. And obviously all the stuff that I do with teams is creating self-belief, building self-esteem, self-worth, self-confidence, all of those things that we all suffer from time to time, and just showing people that, they're worthy of achieving way more than they know, or I could even believe is possible. And I think that stuff's really cool as well. And then obviously the stuff that I do with the job seekers is kind of my give back to society thing, which I love to do as well. The power of you. And I also train the job consultants on how to more empower themselves so they can empower their clients. So yeah, so a little bit on the go.
That's fabulous. So you're 24/7. It sounds like you're working, but
well, don't work too much. Like I keep it pretty good. I just, I got the system working for me, so I don't go too crazy. And and I do a lot of keynote speaking as well. So that's the thing that I love to do, is standing on stage and inspiring big groups. So, but yeah, I'm just getting the system working for me. I don't like to, I said to, like, it's the running joke at CrossFit. They're like, "Oh, big day today," and I was like, "Yeah, I got 3 hours today," and they all just like.
And they're all having to go off to work, and you'll have that flexibility and that time for you.
Yeah, but I mean, it comes with it's not just there's always things behind the things that you got to do, right? Like everyone's got their job, and then maybe they can finish and go home and do whatever. But as soon as I get off this, I've got a keynote for 100 students tomorrow, so I've got to go and get out of the house and go practice it somewhere, because my boys will be home soon. So that's that stuff that you got to do, right? Because you pay to deliver a result, and I want to make sure they get the best possible experience they can get. And such a cool age to be at as well.
And inspire them.
I can't wait. It's they just had a week of work experience, and so I'm gonna. It's my job to, inspire them for the future, which is, very fortunate to be able to do that, to help them on that journey.
That's exciting, because I think they need that inspiration, and they need that outside environment to come in to experience it even more. They can go out into the workforce and experience work experience, but it's, some of them get the real work experience and some of them don't. But then you coming in and talking about, what you talk about, and giving them another perspective and inspiring them even more is fabulous.
Yeah, no, it's so good, and such amazing that schools would, think to engage me to do that as well, that they want to see them succeed. I think it's amazing. I never had anything like that when I was at school.
Me neither. And you know what? I think it's fabulous for kids these days, and the opportunities that they actually have that I didn't have, and you didn't, mate. I didn't have as many.
I definitely didn't have.
Yeah. So, it's great to see that these young kids can have all these opportunities put in front of them, so that they can see it. They know it's there. It's up to them to take the opportunity, but they know it's there. Whereas I didn't have that when I was growing up. So it's really interesting. Can you give 3 tips for people that work in corporate to, create an awareness of how they can be a better person themselves, so that creates a better environment in their workplace? Then, taking someone up the mountain and walking, what is a tip to inspire them to want to come and do that in the first place? And then for your keynotes, what is it that you really want to do to inspire people when you're standing up on stage?
The first one with the corporates, first thing I would suggest to them is to take time out for yourself. I think that we can put our lives on hold for our kids and our work and all of those things. And yeah, that's great, and it's reality, and we've got to do that. But the self-care and looking after ourselves, it's so important to do. So taking time out for yourself, whether it's for exercise, whether it's meditation, or it's getting a massage, or whatever it is that you need to look after yourself and your physical body or whatever. Do something for yourself. Yeah, I think self-care is be the number one, because people put themselves on hold, and they think that if they could be selfish, if they do that, given they've got people to look after. For the people that want to come up the mountain, I always say the signs are there. Yeah, we've suppressed them. I said, like, if anyone watching this, you've suppressed them long enough. Yeah, we can suppress those emotions, we can suppress those feelings, we can suppress all of those things only for a certain amount of time. And don't wait for the big D's, the divorce, diagnosis, or depression for you to act. Yeah, the reason why I started this business is I wanted to be that pause button for people so they didn't have to suffer the 3 Ds. And then for people with my keynotes, if we talk about risk and resilience, right? But in my keynotes, but it's like, if you can inspire hope in people that they can achieve more, like I've spoke at real estate conference where the market's pretty tough, but it's like, like the good people will always succeed, right? Because they're not reacting to the external environments. They're not going, well, they're not accepting that market as a reason why they're not succeeding, right? So I would just teach them that there's always hope, and that no matter what happens, they've got those tools and those resources and stuff that they can just keep going, because like the moment that we're all in now is quite short, isn't it? It seems really real.
Yeah.
We're stuck, right? But like, if you think about it, 6-12 months time, it doesn't seem so, it's not such a big thing, right? So getting people to really tap into their own resources and who they are as a person and what they've already achieved already. Because I think we can forget how much amazing stuff that we've achieved. We've got short memories as humans, don't we?
We do. We tend to remember the bad things instead of the good things. So,
yes.
We have to reverse that, don't we?
Exactly. You can have like 10 good things happen in a day and one bad thing's happen. And what do you remember?
Focus on the bad.
Don't do that. No more focusing on the bad.
No, don't do that. So, Daniel, tell people where they can get in contact with you.
If you just Google the Phoenix Experience, I'm all over everywhere. So they can message me on Facebook. They can add me as a friend on Facebook. I always accept friend requests, or messenger me, or just if you Google the Phoenix Experience, I'm all over the front page. You'll see photos of me in a suit standing on a mountain somewhere. That's me. So yeah, that's how they can get in contact, and always open for a chat and everything. And anyone who watches this can always do a free 30-minute breakthrough call with me, which has been very popular. So
beautiful. Well, thank you. It's time's up. We've gone over a little bit of time, but the information is fabulous, so we need to hold that. So thank you for your time. And this is Faye Waterman. This is Talking All Things Business. If you would like to be on the show, become more visible, stand out in the crowd, be seen as the influencer, be seen as that go-to expert, then connect with me on Facebook, send me a message, and let's have that conversation so that you can be on the show. Thank you, Daniel. And
thank you for having me.
Bye for now.